So in today's video, we're going to talk about the core wound, uncovering the root of your emotional triggers. Now, if you've ever found yourself thinking, why does this upset me so much? Or why does this same argument keep happening? Or why does my nervous system go from zero to overwhelmed in seconds? Today, we're going deeper. We're not just talking about communication techniques. We're not just talking about autism. We're not just talking about trauma. We're talking about the core wound, the original emotional injury underneath your triggers. And this video is for both the NT spouse and the ASD spouse. The neurotypical wife who feels lonely, unseen, or emotionally starved, and the autistic husband who feels constantly criticized, confused, or shut down. Because underneath the conflict, there's usually a wound. And if we don't heal the wound, we just keep managing symptoms. What is the core wound? A core wound is an early emotional injury that shaped how you experience safety, connection, and self-worth. It forms in childhood, it lives in your nervous system, and it gets activated in adult relationships, especially neurodiverse marriages. You don't react strongly because you're dramatic. You react strongly because something old just got touched again. For example, if your core wound is, I'm not important, then delayed responses feel devastating. If your core wound is, I'm defective, then feedback feels crushing. If your core wound is, people will leave you, then emotional distance feels like abandonment. The argument that you have today is rarely about today. It's about something much, much earlier. Let's talk about family systems, where the wound began. Every family has an emotional climate. Some families were emotionally distant, some were chaotic, some were critical, some required you to perform to receive love, some required you to disappear to keep the peace. So you adapted, you had to. Maybe you became the caretaker, or the overachiever, or the invisible one, or the peacemaker, or the problem child, or the good one. And those roles didn't disappear when you got married. They came with you. Now here's where it gets powerful. In neurodiverse marriages, we often see this dynamic. The neurotypical wife may have grown up emotionally attuned or desperately craving attunement. So when emotional reciprocity feels inconsistent, her nervous system reads, I'm alone again. Now for the autistic husband, he may have grown up misunderstood, corrected constantly, or socially confused. So when emotion escalates, his nervous system reads, here I am wrong again. Do you see the pattern here? She feels abandoned, he feels defective. And now they're fighting about dishes, but they're really not fighting about the dishes. They're fighting about old wounds. Let's talk about early childhood wounds and attachment. We're going to go even deeper here. In early childhood, your brain asks one question: am I safe? Safety isn't physical, it's emotional. Was someone responsive when you were distressed? Were your emotions mirrored? Were your needs acknowledged? Were you shamed for sensitivity? Were you told to toughen up? If your emotional needs were minimized or inconsistent, you formed a belief, not consciously, but nervously. Beliefs like, my needs are too much, my feelings don't matter, I'm going to have to handle things all alone, connection is unpredictable, I usually disappoint people. Now let's fast forward to your marriage. When your spouse forgets something important, when they don't respond the way you had hoped, when they withdraw, your adult brain says, it's not a big deal. But your nervous system says, this is the same feeling from when I was 5. And that's complex trauma. So let's talk about complex PTSD in the neurodiverse marriage. Complex PTSD isn't just about big events. No. It's about repeated relational injury, chronic emotional invalidation, chronic unpredictability, chronic feeling unseen. And in neurodiverse marriages, this often happens unintentionally. The autistic husband may not intuit emotional subtext. The neurotypical wife may experience that as indifference. He experiences her intensity as an attack. She experiences his shutdown as abandonment. And over time, their nervous systems become sensitized. She becomes hypervigilant. He becomes avoidant. This isn't villain versus victim. It's trauma response meeting trauma response. Now here's the core question. What is the wound underneath your trigger? Not your spouse's behavior, your wound. For her, it may be, I'm alone, I don't matter, I have to work harder for love. For him, it might be, I'm always wrong, I can't get this right, I will never be enough. If you don't identify the wound, You'll keep trying to fix your spouse instead of healing yourself. Now let's uncover your core wound. Here's the exercise I want you to try. The next time you're triggered, I want you to pause and ask, okay, what am I feeling right now? How old does this feeling feel? When have I felt this before? Not in this marriage, but earlier in life. What does this younger part of me believe about myself? Then share it differently. Instead of, well, you never cared about me. Try, okay, when this happens, I feel alone. It reminds me of something old. Or instead of saying, you're always attacking me. Try, when emotions escalate, I feel like I'm failing. That's an old feeling for me. That shift changes everything because you're not defending, you're revealing. And vulnerability heals wounds. Defensiveness protects old wounds. Now, your marriage is not just a relationship. No, it's a mirror. It reflects what still needs healing. But here's the hopeful part. The trigger is not your enemy. In other words, your spouse is not the bad person. It's the doorway. The argument is not the problem. The wound is. And when both people in the neurodiverse marriage are willing to say, you know what, this reaction is bigger than this moment, healing begins. Not perfectly, not instantly, but honestly. And honesty is where safety grows. Now, if this resonated with you, I want you to comment below. What do you think your core wound might be? And if you're ready to go deeper into trauma recovery within the neurodiverse marriage, I have more resources in the description and pinned in the comment section. You're not broken. Your nervous system learned to survive. Now we're going to help it learn to feel safe. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you.